Michigan's sign stealing scandal has gone from, oh, wow, this crazy assistant has broken the rules, cheated with the idea of helping Michigan win, to, oh my God, this may be one of the juiciest scandals in the history of college football. And now the only question is just how deep does this go? Let's do the journalism. At first, we didn't know much about what was going on at Michigan. We just heard, oh, sign stealing. So they must be stealing the signs of the teams while they're putting in a play with their hands, the hand signals that go on like this, like that. They'll do dances, they'll put their hands here, hands there. You know the whole deal. You see it when you're watching college football on Saturdays, getting the plays into their players. So we thought, okay, Michigan and this guy Connor Stalions must be stealing the sign somehow. Now, who is Connor Stalions? This assistant coach who was being paid just $55,000 a year. How did he get involved with Michigan? Was he a player? Whatnot? We learned that Connor Stalions went to the U.S. Naval Academy. While he was there, he was a student assistant coach. Then he went and he served in the Marines. And then he was a volunteer at Michigan. And then he became an assistant coach back in 2021 as an analyst. Connor Stalions making $55,000 a year. At first, you would think, all right, this guy's in high up in Michigan football. It's $1 billion industry. If he is worth anything, he'd be making a lot more than $55,000, right? But then we got to see some interesting things. People started to dig up photos of the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator in games, big games on ESPN, on TV, and right behind them was Connor Stalions. Why was this $55,000 a year low level assistant, not even assistant, an analyst, right by the offensive coordinator in massive situations? That's a little weird, right? Before we get into Connor Stalions and his apparent vast network of spies, this man's running a syndicate at this point, we should get into just how insane Connor Stalions is. All right. So, this guy who went to the Naval Academy and he served as a Marines, his entire life's goal since he was 16 years old, a junior in high school, was to coach at the University of Michigan. He actually got in to the University of Michigan and instead went to the US Naval Academy because it fit his 15-year plan to coach at Michigan better. This guy's entire life, since he was 16, he quit football because he realized he was not going to be big enough. The only thing he wanted to do was coach at the University of Michigan. And then we learned that for the first few years he was at the University of Michigan, he wasn't even on staff. He at first bought a house and then rented out the entire house as an Airbnb and slept on a like essentially in the living room because he wanted to make his money back. Then he lived in his car or something. This guy's devoted his life to eventually getting hired in 2021. So we already know that this Connor Stalions guy is a psycho, right? Well, I haven't even told you the number one telltale sign that he's a psycho. And that is that we found out that he has a 550 to 600 page long Google document that he has shared with two or three other assistant coaches throughout the country, which he calls the Michigan Manifesto. This is something he updates daily with plans and ideas to run the Michigan football program, which I guess was his massive plan. When all of this dropped on October 19th, Connor Stalions deleted all of his social media except for one, Venmo. This is one that people often forget. You delete everything: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, but you leave Venmo open. And if you're doing this, is why I Connor Stalions, he had a manifesto, a Michigan manifesto. He was obsessed with this. He was running a vast network of spies and he didn't lock his Venmo. And on his Venmo, there were some, suspicious transactions. There was one to a Michigan football intern the day before Ohio State played Georgia. And it was set, and the comment that you can leave on Venmo, it said GA. He paid him. There was another one with one of his players, or not his players, but a player that was at Navy at the same time he was there. He charged him for tickets. Were a lot of these various charges that we found thanks to random people on the internet. Shout out to the internet detectives. That's top tier journalism. And going through Venmo, I mean, You should have locked that Connor Stalions, but you didn't. That was not very smart. Thanks to some more reporting done by the Washington Post, Football Scoop, Yahoo, and whatnot, we found out that the suspicion that he was buying tickets for games throughout the country for his vast network of spies to go to was in fact true. And Connor Stalions was buying these tickets under his own name. It's been found out that Connor Stalions has bought upwards of 30 Big Ten tickets to 12 of the 13 Big Ten stadiums. It's funny, this all came out on October 19th, 2023. On October 21st, Penn State was going to play Ohio State, two of Michigan's future opponents. Connor Stalions actually bought two tickets to that game, one on each sideline. So one of his spies, or two of them, could go to the game and record both sidelines because he didn't just need Ohio State signs, he needed Penn State signs. So this is exactly what would happen. He would buy tickets to a game, and let's say Michigan was playing Ohio State. He would then get somebody who could go to the game. They would go to the game. They would sit exactly on, a certain yard line, probably around the 40 or either side. And he would essentially tell these guys, all right, what I want you to do is film on your phone their sidelines the entire game. And these people, such as interns in the Michigan football program, former teammates of his, former people that he even served in the Marines with, people that were on the US Navy team when he was a grad assistant there. He would send them to these games. He would pay for their ticket. They would record, and then they would give him the footage, and then they would dissect it. That's how you stole the signs. And then you would know exactly what this man or that man, or if they were going like this on the sideline. He would have a essentially cheat sheet. It's think of that you were in, high school and you could bring in one note card and then you would have all of the answers on the test and they would look at it. And people even found on the sideline of Michigan the cheat sheet and photos where if you zoomed in, I'll show you right now, you see exactly how there's little figurines of guys going like this, that, the other, and that was indicated. Oh, they're going to run this play or that play or the other, and then Michigan could in turn essentially, stop it. Now, did this work for Michigan? Well, it's kind of hard to say because there's not another scenario in the world that played out without Connor Stallion stealing these signs. However, we can look at some, examples. There was a clip that was going viral on Twitter or X, I guess you say it now, of Connor Stallions looking at the sideline when Ohio State calls an audible and the entire sideline looks at it. The Ohio State calls the audible. Connor Stalions sees it, tells it, and then the entire Michigan sideline goes pass, 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 and a pass happens. Now, on that viral clip, it does not continue and show you the result of the play because Michigan actually allowed a touchdown in it. So there is a point to say sign stealing does work, but it's not everything. You still have to execute XYZ the other. But there are other examples that suggest it really did work. Connor Stalions came in and started working for Michigan in 2021. Jim Harbaugh got to Michigan in 2015. I just had to double check. From 2015 to 2020, as you see in this graphic, Jim Harbaugh's against the spread record with Michigan is 32, 38, and 1. Why I use against the spread instead of the typical, just straight up record is against the spread's a great way to look at how Michigan is performing against the market. Now, you may say, well, what does that mean, Jack? Well, millions upon millions, tens of millions of dollars is gambled on games. Now, Michigan is always expected to beat Rutgers, but did they beat them by more than what they were expected to beat them by? That's why we're looking at against the spread. And so much money is crossing hands and whatnot, or not crossing, but changing hands. You get to see how Michigan is really doing against expectation. 33, 32, 38, and 1 is they were kind of below expectation. They weren't bad at football. They almost made the college football playoff one year, but they were below expectation. A complete 500 record would say, all right, you're pretty much on expectation. Above that, such as a record of 23, 11, and 2 against the spread from 2021 to 2023. would say, oh, you were very much above expectation. Now, there's other aspects to that. Is it JJ McCarthy that was doing that? Did Jim Harbaugh just get better players, better coaches, yada, yada, yada? But we do know Connor Stalions starting in 2021, and the against the spread record for Michigan during that time is 23, 11, and 2. Now, was this just Connor Stalions doing? Did Connor Stalions come up with this plan? He was such a big Michigan football fan, a Michigan man. His lifelong dream was to be the Michigan head football coach. Maybe he did this just to help himself, go along. Yeah, he only made $55,000 a year, but maybe he put himself in debt. He had a 15-year plan, maybe spending a couple $10,000, $15,000 a year to help him advance Michigan's chances was worth it to him. Thanks to an article from the Washington Post on October 25th, we have learned that that is not necessarily true. This entire investigation by the NCAA started thanks to a third party independent investigation firm that essentially gave a tip to the NCAA and said, hey guys, we found this and I think you guys should look into what this tip from the third party investigation firm, which by the way, we will get into in a second. Why was a third party investigation firm looking into Michigan? I don't know. We'll get into that. Don't you forget. We will get. You think my journalisming is not going to get into that? That's I think the most juicy part of this entire. Well, there's two juicy things. We'll get into those juicy things. What this third party found was a incredibly detailed schedule of uh, how the Michigan football program or these assistant coaches, not just Connor Stalions, were going to send all these people to games throughout the country to advance scout the teams that they were planning on playing and then also who they could potentially play in the college football playoff. They found a detailed schedule with a budget of $15,000 and they saw names and they also connected these names to photos of individuals at the games, which the schedule said they were going to. They gave this all to the NCAA. And they also found that it wasn't just Connor Stalions who had access to this massive, massive network of sign stealers, I guess you would say, spies. It sounds like Connor Stalions is running a crime syndicate, if we're being completely honest. Connor Stalions was not the only one who had access to this. Uh, a few assistant coaches did. And what would happen was these individuals, interns, other people that they knew that they scheduled to go to these games would go to them, film it, and then they would send it to a Google Drive. And then Connor Stalions, these assistant coaches would have access to it. And then they would decipher what plays were being ran after a coach went like this on the sideline. Now, you may be wondering, what is illegal about this? This is just good scouting, right? Well, in the NCAA, it is against the rules. This is according to the NCAA bylaw 11.6.1. Off campus in person scouting of future opponents in the same season is prohibited. Sign stealing itself is technically not prohibited. However, if you are using video equipment to record the sidelines of upcoming opponents in the situations where you are in season scouting somebody at the game and then you're filming them and you are then connected to the Michigan athletic department, that is also illegal. You're not allowed to film them. That's when, if you are in the game and you see, oh, they keep doing this and they're running the ball, then you see it, then they run it. That's not illegal. But if you went to the game 3 weeks prior and you have a cheat sheet, that is illegal and against the NCAA rules. There is also reason to believe that Michigan not only used these signs that they stole to benefit them, but also other teams. They identified teams that they thought were not going to match up well against them in the college football playoff with the idea that Michigan was going to make it there. And they would then give all of this information that they had to that team's upcoming opponent. Example, Michigan thinks that they're going to play Tennessee in the college football playoff. They go and scout Tennessee. They look at everything and say, oh my God, this team, if we play them, their wide receivers so much better than our corners. We're going to get killed. We don't want to play them So, how do we help get them out of the college football playoff race? Oh, we scouted their signs. Let's give them this South Carolina. And then South Carolina has them, and let's just say they score 63 points against Tennessee after scoring 6 points against Florida the week prior. I mean, these are all things that could have happened. It was reported in Football Scoop that Michigan was giving signs to teams that were playing potential college football playoff opponents that they were going to play, that they wanted to get out of the college football playoff race. That is something that they did, according to Football Scoop. And then there's also reason to believe that potentially South Carolina was involved there because, oh, wait a second, their coach, Shane Beamer, was involved in a sign stealing scandal back in the 2010s called Wakey Leaks. He also was fined for this. So maybe, just maybe, this happened again. And Spencer Rattler, wow, Spencer Rattler didn't throw for more than 215 yards against an SEC opponent all year outside of one game. Then he plays Tennessee and he throws for 400 yards, 6 touchdowns out of nowhere, 63 points after scoring just 6 points against Florida. Weird. Weird, weird, weird. Wait, you're telling me South Carolina's defense in their game against Tennessee was the first time that they wore wristbands the entire season, and then they never wore them again, or where they wore them the next game against Clemson, who we know Michigan advanced scout as well. Is what would it be possible that this is connected? If that is connected, and Michigan was helping other teams kick other teams out of the college football playoff, that's when it gets to a place of like, oh my God. That's when it gets juicy. That's the first juicy storyline here. The second juicy storyline is, okay, this is all coming out thanks to the NCAA getting a tip from a third-party investigation. Who was paying for this third-party investigation firm to look into Michigan? Who would do that? You could say Ohio State. You could say Jim Stapleton, who's on the NCAA board, who is a big time hater of Michigan, and Jim Harbaugh, or not of Michigan, but of Jim Harbaugh. These are all people that allegedly could be doing it. And then, why did the Washington Post write an entire article about this and get this information that the NCAA learned about this thanks to a tip from a third party firm? And Washington Post didn't think, oh, wait a second. How, what, this third party firm, what is this third party firm? How are they involved? Why are they involved? And then you look and see, oh, who wrote this article? Oh, it's a author that went to Boston College from 2002 to 2006. Who was at Boston College from 2002 to 2006? Ryan Day. These are all just dots being connected. Could it be connected? Possibly. It could be, but you never know. Who benefits from Michigan going down? Who's lost to Michigan 2 times in a row and is being talked about like, if you can't beat Michigan, Brian, why are you here? Who's Ryan Day? Ohio. I'm not saying Ryan Day did this. I'm not saying Ohio State did it. But a third-party firm just tipping off the NCAA. Oops. Hey guys, this just fell upon our desk. That's not how that works. And then we remember, oh, Michigan's computer systems were hacked in August. Another layer to this entire thing, and I know there's a lot of layers, and that's what makes this entire story one of the craziest in college football history, in my opinion, is that the offensive coordinator for the 2022 team, co-offensive coordinator Matt Weiss, was actually removed from that position in early 2023 after it came out that he is under investigation for quote unquote computer access crime. This computer access crime occurred from December 21st to December 23rd in the Schembechler Hall, which is where the coaches' offices are. He was placed on leave in January when this came out, and it was reported on October 26th that the Michigan police partnered with the FBI for the past few months to look into this computer access crimes. Could this be connected? No, but it could be connected in a way that even goes beyond the computer access problems or crimes that Matt Weiss was committing. Matt Weiss could be so bitter that he decided to blow the whistle on Michigan. Maybe he is the one that told the firm to look into it, or maybe he told somebody at another school and said, "Hey, you should look into this and get somebody to maybe get access to this guy's computer and whatnot." And then we'll, leave a little tip to the NCAA, and I won't be involved because wink, wink. I'm not even here. It's possible. There's a lot of theories out there, and I'm going to theorize. I'm not afraid to theorize. People are like, "Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to get all your thinking." No, I'm going to theorize. All right, that's what people do when they sit down and they talk to their friend. They theorize. That's my journalism. That's journalism in the me. We theorize. All right, look into it. We can all, I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what I think could possibly be the case. Where does this leave Michigan? All right. So the NCAA could bring the hammer down, hammer down. They could bring the hammer down on Michigan. Death penalty? Maybe. I would be shocked by that. Also, it is pretty widely known that a lot of teams steal signs. Ryan Day mentioned it at one point about Clemson after their college football playoff game. They were saying that Clemson has such an extensive sign stealing operation that it's military grade level. Sign stealing is so extensive in college football that other coaches know the coaches that do it. It's possible every coach does it, but there are ones that people know about more than others. Mike Leach was known for making fun of Todd Graham while he was at Arizona State for, sealing signs of Washington State. So he was on the sidelines, kind of almost doing mock signs and classic Mike Leach, by the way, RIP to one of the GOATs. He was making fun of him. And after the 2016 game, Mike Leach and Todd Graham came together, and Todd Graham, I'm going to show you the clip. He called Mike Leach's comments about his sign stealing, quote unquote, chicken shit. So, Mike Leach knew about that Todd Graham was doing this in 2016. Also, TCU was alerted before they played Ohio State, and this is reported by Ross Dellinger, of Michigan's extensive sign stealing. And they told them, hey, just so you know, this is going to happen. So they put in some dummy play calls and signs that players on TCU would ignore, but they thought Michigan would not pick up on. And obviously, Michigan lost that game, so maybe you could put 2 and 2 together there. Now, the question is, if Michigan sign stealing was so known within the college community, why didn't anybody report this to the NCAA? It's a very good question. Why are we still doing signs on the sideline like this in 2023? It's a good question. That's because it's fair to assume all coaches do this. And if we just put a mic in the helmet, of players, and it was like the NFL, that means if you're doing that for your team, yeah, you have the advantage of it, but that means you can't steal the other team's signs. So it's one of those things where I think the reason the signs are still around is because if we get rid of our signs, that means we can't steal your signs. So we're just going to have a steal off. We're going to have a steal off. Now, what does that mean in regards to Michigan? It's kind of like when a team gets found out by the NCAA for paying their players. Doesn't matter. It's illegal. We found out about you and you are going to face the crimes. We don't care that everybody does it. Yeah, everybody does it. Everybody still signs, but we caught you doing it and against the rules. We caught Miami doing this in the early 2000s and we almost gave them the death penalty. We caught SMU back in the day, gave them the death penalty. So it's not that SMU was the only team doing this. Everybody was doing it, but they got caught. And that's where I think Michigan is kind of in a tough spot because this could be an extensive punishment by the NCAA. And Jim Harbaugh may just be kind of like, why am I staying around here? I'm going to go back to the NFL. I got to deal with this nonsense NCAA above me. They obviously have a bone to pick with me. They're always looking to investigate me. I got suspended for 4 games for giving a recruit a hamburger. So maybe I'm just going to go to the NCAA now. Why stay here or to the NFL now? Why stay here? I can't even make a move. It's like the feds on me. I can't even make a move. So Michigan, this may be the last dance. This may be last dance, Michael Jordan era, Scottie Pippen. One more chance to win a championship. You have a really good team this year, and we'll see how they do. If they can't steal signs anymore, where's that going to leave them? Connor Stalions isn't on the sideline anymore. We'll see for the rest of the 2023 season. I'm doing this in the midst of it. By the time I publish this video, there'll probably be more information that comes out. But I do want a movie about this. I want a movie about it all. This could be a thriller. There's so much drama here. The third party investigate guys, there's a chance that another football program wanted to take down Michigan so badly. They knew about what they were doing. So they hired a third party private investigator to hack into Michigan's computer programs and find the information and then drop it on the NCAA's desk. That probably wouldn't stand up in the court of law, but that's a hell of a movie. It's a hell of a movie, and I want to see it made. Thank you for watching another video. Alhamdulillah, God gave me everything, brother. Leave a comment, leave a like. I really appreciate it. We'll see. By the time you watch this, there's more information that's come out, but